down a bit, weren't you, boys?
Jesus Christ.
Hello, R.D.
Boys, this is the Papa Bear.
Been a long time.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah. 6 years.
I should have known that'd be you on the other end of that two-way.
What two-way?
The CB Cottonmouth.
Couldn't have been me. I ain't got no CB. Besides, I don't believe in police entrapment. Come on.
Welcome to the Cinematic Flashback podcast. Get ready to hop into the Wayback Machine as we journey through the wild, bold, and unforgettable films of the 1970s. Each episode, we break down a classic movie or forgot gem, seeing how it performed then and now, and wrapping things up by asking, did it groove through the decades or did it lose its beat? I am your host, Chuck Bryan, and today we are reviewing Sam Peckinpah's 1978 film Convoy, starring Kris Kristofferson, MacGraw, Ernest Borgnine, Bert Young, and Madge Sinclair. This is our second and final stop in our Keep on Truckin' month. Last episode, we followed one trucker taking on the system in White Line Fever. This time, we've got hundreds of trucks, a chart-topping country song, a CB radio in every cab, and Sam Peckinpah trying to steer the whole thing down the interstate. Let me check here. Breaker 19. Matt, you got your ears on. Come on back.
10-4, good buddy. I'm at your back door. You see any bears up there? Come on back.
Roger that. We got a roadblock up there on the Cloverleaf, and them bears are wall to wall. How you been, my man?
I've been fine. This has been a bit of a trip down memory lane with the CB banter and stuff. You know, it's going through some of that. And I have to tell you, I listened to a YouTube series of a local chef. I had to laugh so hard because his dialect is absolutely trucker slang.
Last episode, we started talking about the CB radio craze. We kind of shared a lot of our memories and experiences with it and just talked about how big it became during the 70s. But while researching Convoy, I started kind of getting this little nugget of an idea. So here it goes. In 1975, was CB radio basically America's first social media platform? And let me expand just a little bit. People had handles instead of users' name. They talked to strangers they never met. They shared information in real time. They complained about authorities. They spread rumors, and they built these communities around common interest. The technology was different, but the behavior feels surprisingly familiar.
I think you're onto something, but I think the big difference was range. Today, a tweet could be heard around the world. Back then, a Breaker 19 could on average reach about 5 miles. If a trucker had a real good set of tuned antennas hooked up nice and high on his cab, they might be able to get 10 miles. You know, there is a phenomenon called skip. You know, you could communicate over many, many miles. It was skipping off the ionosphere that generally happened in the evenings, not something that usually happens. So you're talking about a pretty limited range of people you can talk to in messages. Now, you'll see, and even in our movie, we see that by using that little range and then repeating, like word of mouth, but over the radio, you could reach many miles in front. So a trucker would call ahead or behind saying, hey, I just passed a speed trap, and then the truck that's sort of at the edge of that would then pass it to the people behind him, and et cetera. So you could reach a pretty big range, but it sort of depended on word of mouth. I think we'd be better off with the 5 mile range. Because I think, you know, there's today's inane blather can reach Antarctica. Back then, just only 5 miles. And then each person has to decide whether they're going to repeat it or not, which I think was a good thing, right? So, of course, that would also mean we wouldn't be making this podcast or every episode would be live.
Well, Matt, do we have anyone giving us any feedback this week?
Yes, we do. This was from our Dirty Harry Encore episode. Listener Chris left us this comment on Spotify. Quote, great episode. I learned a thing or two about guns. The best scene in the movie was the stadium where the camera pulls away and you can hear that creepy music and Scorpio's screams as Harry steps on his leg. Cheers. Thank you, Kris, for that feedback. We love to hear it. And as always, the general population of people who are listening to our podcast, we want to hear from you, good or bad, or some advice. We welcome it all. We know that two dudes in a microphone is not exactly high art, but we love movies, and we hope that we can help you discover a forgotten gem or understand a little bit about the time when the movie was released. So don't be shy, be like Kris, and let us know how we're doing. Use the comment feature on your podcast listening app, or hit us up on our Facebook page, or go right to our website at www.cinematicflashback.com.
You know, Matt, I have to really agree with Kris on that episode. I think I called you up and just said, hey, Matt, I know you know more about guns than I do. Just you carry that.
You know, that was definitely in the 1970s. Guns were featured a lot more, I think, in a different light than today. And, you know, I think, things progress, I think, in a positive way, largely. But yeah, that's the way it happened. So, Chuck, how, or should I say, why did this movie happen?
Well, Matt, before we get into the production of Convoy, I want to ask a question of my own. What do a bread commercial, a truck driving country singer, a Sam Peckinpah movie, and Christmas music have in common?
I have absolutely no idea, but I'm hoping it has something to do with Convoy.
Heavy white stuff. Had a jackknifing rig that drove like a sled, had a busted chain and a load of bread for the old home filler up and keep on a trucking, calf.
It does. It sounds like the setup to a very bad joke, but it's actually the story of how Convoy got made. And the story begins back in 1973 when advertising executive Bill Fries created a truck driving character called C.W. McCall for a series of old homebred commercials.
Says you know what to say, cold truck.
The initials CW stood for Country Western, while McCall was inspired by a copy of McCall's magazine that just happened to be sitting on his desk. The character became popular enough that Fries and musician Chip Davis took C.W. McCall beyond the commercials and into the recording studios, releasing several albums.
Took off for it.
When you created that thing, did you have any idea at all it would develop into this sort of thing?
I had no idea.
You write all of this stuff?
Yeah, we write all of our own material. I do all the lyrics, and a fellow named Chip Davis writes the music.
1975, their album Black Bear Road included a little song called Convoy.
Breaker 19, this here's a rubber duck. You got a copy on me, Big Ben, come on.
Convoy became a massive crossover hit, reaching #1 on both the country and pop charts.
Come on. Yeah, it's a big 10-4 there, Big Ben. Yeah, we definitely...
EMI Films saw a hit song and a growing trucker craze and decided there was a movie to be made. There was only one problem. The song didn't provide much of a story. It had a convoy, a trucker named Rubber Duck, and not much else. The rest would have to be invented. EMI turned to Sam Peckinpah. He didn't see a truck movie. He saw a Western. Rubber Duck became a modern outlaw hero. Sheriff Lyle Wallace became the lawman in pursuit, and America's highways became Peckinpah's frontier. But production was difficult. Peckinpah's struggles with alcohol and health issues continued throughout the film, and creative conflicts followed the movie into post-production. Despite those challenges, Convoy was completed and released in the summer of 1978, and ironically, it became the highest-grossing film of Peckinpah's career. The adaptation eventually came full circle. C.W. McCall recorded a revised version of Convoy that incorporated characters and events from the movie. The song became a movie, and then the movie became a song again. And here's one final twist. While Bill Fries was becoming famous as C.W. McCall, Chip Davis was also developing another musical project called Mannheim Steamroller. In fact, the first Fresh Air album was released in 1975, the same year Convoy became a national phenomenon. Over the following decades, Mannheim Steamroller would become one of the most successful Christmas music acts in America. So that's the unlikely road to Convoy, Matt. A bread commercial created a fictional truck driver. The truck driver became a recording star. That recording star inspired a Sam Peckinpah movie, and the musician behind it all eventually became one of the biggest names in neoclassical Christmas music.
I am gobsmacked about Mannheim Steamroller.
Yeah, what sent me down this rabbit trail was the opening credit had Chip Davis's name.
You're like, it can't be the same guy.
The thing is I have friends that studied from Chip Davis. So that name was very familiar to me. And I went and I looked it up, and sure enough, this is who it was. So then that led me all the way back to where I realized that C.W. McCall was not a real person.
You know, I'll be honest with you, until we decided to record this podcast, I thought C.W. McCall was a real person.
Why would you not?
Yeah. So funny.
Well, hey, man, we are ready to dive into these production details of Convoy, but first we need to take a step away for a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin. It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
20 miles long and 20 feet wide with the power of 90,000 horses inside. It's a beautiful sight and a hell of a ride. It's a convoy. Well, the man up front is the rubber duck. He's the finest man ever drove a truck with a tank full of nerve and a heart full of luck. He's got a convoy. Now, it starts when a bear who's as bad as can be sets his mind on highway robbery. But the duck says, you better not mess with me. I got a convoy. Well, the chase is on, running night and day, laying tracks clear across the USA. So if you want to join, they'll be coming your way. It's a convoy. Kris Kristofferson, Ali MacGraw, Bert Young, Madge Sinclair, Franklyn Ajaye, and Ernest Borgnine in Convoy, rated PG.
Welcome back. Let's get into the production details. Convoy was released in the United States on June 28, 1978, and distributed by United Artists. The film runs about an hour and 50 minutes and was produced by EMI Film. With a budget of $12 million, the movie would go on to earn approximately $45 million at the box office, making it, as we said, the highest grossing film of Sam Peckinpah's career. It is also worth noting that, as we talked about in The Getaway, Peckinpah was a functional alcoholic. However, by 1978, the alcohol and drugs were impeding his work on this film. He brought in his longtime friend, James Coburn, as a second unit director, earning Coburn his DGA credentials. And by many accounts, there were times when Peckinpah was just not available, and Coburn directed some of the first unit as well. Coburn had starred in other Peckinpah films, such as Major Dundee, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, as well as Cross of Iron. After turning in a rough cut that was reportedly more than 3 hours and 40 minutes, EMI executive Michael Dealey lost confidence that Peckinpah and his longtime editor Garth Craven would actually be able to deliver a commercially viable film in time for its planned summer release. So Dealey removed both men from the editing process and promoted Graham Clifford to oversee the completion of the film. And just for perspective, Michael Dealey was hardly a studio novice. He was one of the key executives behind The Deer Hunter and would later produce Blade Runner. The screenplay was written by Bill Norton. Harry Stradling Jr. served as cinematographer, while Joe Wright and Garth Craven handled editing duties. The music was composed by Chip Davis. Today, Convoy holds a 58% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and 71% audience score. And I read from the Leonard Maltin edition of his review from 1992, he gave it 2 stars. A convoy is only as good as the drivers in it. So, Matt, let's take a look at this cast.
All right, so we'll first start out with a great singer, very charismatic person with a wonderful history, Kris Kristofferson.
Why do they call you the duck?
Because it rhymes with luck. Now, my daddy always told me I ought to be just like a duck. Said stay smooth on the surface and paddle like the devil underneath.
Notice I did not put down acting as possibly his maybe strongest suit. He was a very interesting guy, and he is the lead in this movie. He was an amazing dude. I mean, he was a captain and a helicopter pilot in the Army. He was a Rhodes Scholar to Oxford. He actually wrote and performed songs. Sunday Morning Coming Down, sung by Johnny Cash, won the Country Music Association Year Award in 1970. He wrote Me and Bobby McGee. I mean, that's classic.
Yeah.
Help Me Make It Through the Night for the Good Times. Those are ones I haven't heard as much, but Me and Bobby McGee, oh my gosh.
Oh, Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah, it is. It is. And then he was in a number of movies. A Star is Born, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, as we talked about. That was a Peckinpah film. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. That was a Scorsese film. Heaven's Gate. That was a Michael Cimino. How do we say that? I never get it right.
Michael Cimino.
Michael Cimino. Yeah. So I mean, Kris Kristofferson's a real powerhouse. I gotta say he's probably a much better singer than actor, but I'll be honest with you, I'm going to say he did the most he could with this.
Well, riding shotgun for much of this movie is Ally MacGraw as Melissa.
What's going on here?
Oh, Melissa, this is the duck. She needs a ride.
What happened to the XKE?
I sold it.
How do you two know each other?
This is the guy I told you about. The one that told the cop that I was nude driving.
Oh, I should have known.
He get you?
Well, after his proposition, I sent him to the motel of his choice, where I think he's probably still waiting for me.
And she enters the movie driving a really sweet 1974 Jaguar XKE. But the last time we talked about her was in The Getaway, which was 1972, also directed by Sam Peckinpah. And I have to say that was the last movie she had actually made. So there's a period of 6 years between these two films. I hesitate to mention it, Matt, but she did star in that little film that pulled Paramount out of the dumpster called Love Story. We also remember that she was married to the head of Paramount at one point, Robert Evans, but their marriage hit hard times when he was focused on The Godfather and she was working with Steve McQueen.
I think you might want to word that around again and say their marriage hit hard times when he was working on The Godfather and she was focused on Steve McQueen.
I think you just said it there, buddy. Oh, man.
That also brings us to my favorite actor in this film, who is Bert Young. And when I saw him come up on the credits, I'm like, no, it's Paulie.
Yes,
it's Paulie.
That's a big 10-4, good buddy. You got Spider Mike at your back door. My hand is Love Machine. You know why they call me Love Machine? Quadraphonic sound, color TV. I got a big bar sitting right behind me. Now get this, a warm water bed. All the creature comforts, Fred.
Hey, Love Machine, you ain't hollering go-go girls, are you?
Yeah, dude. That's just what he's hollering. And they're closing up my sinuses, too.
Did you notice the trucking company?
I did
on the
not
side of his
until you mentioned it in the notes here, and I looked back at it and I just laughed. That is so funny.
That was hilarious.
Because who we're talking about is the ultimate character actor, Bert Young, who played Paulie in the Rocky movies, all of them, and everybody sort of loves to hate him. He was kind of the thing. But in this movie, he's actually kind of a hero. He's kind of a good guy.
Yep.
I have to say, he plays this character. I think his name is the Love Machine, but since he was hauling hogs, they renamed him Pigpen.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he said he earned that nickname.
Yeah, well, in his dreams,
and then
maybe.
they asked him if he earned it with the Go-Go Girls that he was hauling, which was a bunch
Go-Go
of
girls.
pigs.
That's right. That's what they call hogs when they're doing it. So I will say that he delivered a pretty good performance in here. He was funny. He was really cringy when he was trying to talk to the girls, which was perfect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was fun. It was definitely fun to have him in this film. In my opinion, a real shocker, because I did not even remember him in this film. And I did see Convoy back in the day.
Yeah. Can I make an observation?
Sure, 100%.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon, but I'm going to say that I think I enjoyed the supporting cast more than the main cast. Is that fair?
I think that's absolutely fair. And I know you want to talk about our next actress.
Go ahead.
I'm very impressed with this next actress, and her name is Madge Sinclair, but I'll let you take the information on her.
Sure. I have to admit, when I watched her the first time, I walked away just loving her. Madge Sinclair, who played Widow Woman in this movie. So I go and I start looking at her IMDb, of course, because you're just trying to see what else has she's been in. I knew that I recognized her vaguely because she is the captain of the USS Saratoga from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Starfleet Command, this is USS Saratoga patrolling Sector 5, neutral zone. We're tracking a probe of unknown origin on apparent trajectory to the Terran solar system. Attempts to communicate with the probe have been negative on all known frequencies.
Continue tracking Saratoga. We will analyze transmissions and advise.
Roger, Starfleet. Saratoga out.
That would have made her the first female Starfleet captain be seen in the history of Star Trek. She also appeared in the TNG 7th season episode Interface as Captain Sylvia LaForge, who was the mother of the USS Enterprise's engineer, Geordi LaForge. She's probably, though, best known as the mother of Prince Akeem in Coming to America. And if you have a good ear, you'll recognize her as the voice of Queen Sarabi in The Lion King.
I recognize her for both those things. Coming to America is one of my dirty, I don't know, secret pleasures. I love that movie. It's so
Guilty
funny.
pleasure.
Guilty pleasure, yeah. It's so funny. And she's great in it. She's so great in that movie. Really has that queenly, regal carriage when she performs in that movie, Coming to America. And then as you mentioned it about the voice, I'm like, yep, that's exactly who, where the queen was in The Lion King. This is so awesome.
Spider Mike calling the duck. Say, Duck, I just got to skip from my home 20. My old lady's about to pop. You talking to a damn near daddy. Can you dig it?
Hey, that's great news, Mike.
I'm going to have to split, though. So, y'all take care.
So what do you know about Franklyn Ajaye?
He was a comedian, and he starred in a number of movies. And I think when you see the film, you will recognize his face. He is a good dramatic actor in this case. I mean, he's kind of funny. He was in Car Wash, Stir Crazy, Hollywood Shuffle, and The Burbs. He appeared in lots of TV shows like Barney Miller, The Bionic Woman, Chico and the Man, and he was Samuel Fields in Deadwood. And I don't know if any of our fans have watched Deadwood, but that is an amazing show. Really good.
I went and watched some of his comedy on YouTube, and he appeared a lot on the old late night show called After Midnight.
Yeah. I think a lot of comedians are actually pretty decent actors, and sometimes they're terrible, but most of the time they're actually quite good. And I think it has something to do with their ability to be in touch with that which makes people laugh. Sort of, they know how to emote, I think, maybe, and sometimes they're also very deeply thinking people, which I think sometimes makes a great actor.
I think his character Spider Mike is kind of the catalyst for a lot of the story.
Yeah,
especially with his interaction with Ernest Borgnine's character, who played Sheriff Lyle Cottonmouth Wallace, also known as Dirty Lyle.
Breaker 19. This is the Bear. In the air, Officer Lyle Wallace. Calling Rubber Jerk and that rattling piece of black crap at your side, dog. Come on.
We've talked about Ernest Borgnine before from the Poseidon Adventure, and he's just, man, this guy, what an incredible career. It would probably take at least 5 to 10 minutes to read everything that he's been in, but just to highlight some of his work, he was in McHale's Navy, The Dirty Dozen, The Black Hole, Escape from New York again has shown up, Deadly Blessing, and of course, The Love Boat.
Yeah. I watched a lot of McHale's Navy, and it always was funny to see Ernest Borgnine come up as maybe not such a favorable person.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I think it must have been Peckinpah or somebody that gave the character the nickname Cottonmouth. I mean, honest to goodness, that guy's teeth are a mess.
Well, I went and I was like looking at other pictures, and it's like he has that gap. I mean, it's there, but I think because Peckinpah focused on it so much more that you're going, I've never realized
got a wicked sense of humor, if you ask me. So.
Oh, boy. We've talked about the people behind the wheel. Now, why don't you tell our listeners where the convoy is headed and what Convoy is actually about?
Sure. This is usually when I read the back of the box, but since we don't have a back of the box, we kind of put together a back in the box. So you'll excuse my announcer voice. So here we go. When the longtime backbone of American cinema, the Western, began to fade in the 1970s, another road-bound hero stepped in to take its place, the long-haul trucker. Directed by the legendary Sam Peckinpah and inspired by the chart-topping hit song Convoy, this action-packed adventure follows Martin Rubber Duck Penwald. After a clash with the grifting, dirty Sheriff Lyle Cottonmouth Wallace and his deputies, Rubber Duck must flee to the New Mexico border along with a ragtag bunch of fellow truckers. They broadcast their progress against the evil lawmen over the CB radio, eventually forming a massive convoy that stretches for miles across the Arizona highways. Fueled by diesel frustration and a shared distrust of authority, the convoy rolls towards the freedom of the border. The film features Kris Kristofferson in a dramatic role in a strong supporting cast that includes Ali MacGraw, Madge Sinclair, and Bert Young.
We've got a lot to say about this one. Stick around. We'll be right back with our thoughts on Convoy.
It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
Up here, the air smells like old cardboard, vinyl records, and that slight combination of Aquanet and fresh mimeograph paper. Boxes are stacked to the rafters with the stuff that raised us. VHS tapes that were never rewound. Game cartridges you had to blow into. Mixtapes recorded straight off the radio. And the action figures that never survived mint condition. Each time I visit this attic, I'll pull out one specific artifact from days gone but not forgotten. Blow off the dust, flip it over, and remember what it felt like to hold it, watch it, play it, or just obsess over it. So grab your Walkman, Game Boy, or whatever ancient tech you're still clinging to, settle in, and let's see what forgotten gem we unearth each time we visit Gen Xer's attic. Because some things are worth saving from the garage sale of history. Coming soon, new podcast, Gen Xer's Attic. Listen to and download wherever you get your podcasts.
It's a cinematic flashback. Let the show begin.
You got room for one septic Sam, the sewer man? You got the pack rat and the white rat here, and welcome aboard. You dump it, we pump it.
Just remember, we keep pigs, cesspools, and foul odors all the way at the back.
Well, howdy, boys. Welcome to the Convoy. That's right, boys.
Welcome back. All right, everybody. From here on out, we're going to talk about our thoughts on Convoy and might inadvertently give some spoilers. If you would like to watch Convoy, it is available to rent at all the usual locations. And as of the recording we're making right now, you can catch it free on Tubi.
Okay, Matt, let's get into it. I think I already heard you say that this was not the first time you watched Convoy. What do you remember about it before?
Funny enough, I remember very little about it.
Yeah.
The question, pops in mind, what do you think of? What are you going to see in Convoy? And obviously, you're going to see a trucker movie. I got what I expected. I personally thought there could have been more character development.
Yeah.
Unlike White Line Fever, right, that we reviewed before, there was a real emotional pull about the situation the trucker was in, and we understood it. He had a giant mortgage. He's trying to make his payments. He's trying to make money, and these people are standing in his way, and that's not right. So we're invested. In this particular movie, you just sort of run into Kris Kristofferson playing the rubber duck, and he's just a trucker with, it's a Mack truck he's on. It's a Mack with a can or something like that.
Yeah.
That's basically all you get in background. You have no idea until later in the movie that he actually has some kids somewhere that he sees occasionally. I mean, I don't know. He's not a very favorable character, in my opinion.
They don't make him out to be like a hero.
He certainly is well regarded amongst his friends. That's very clear at the beginning.
Absolutely. He has a great reputation.
Yeah, they're all excited to hear that the rubber duck is out, and they're in proximity because they're on their CB radios. The banter between them is very, very friendly, very like longtime friends. And I believe that was pretty much the norm for a lot of long-haul truckers. They cross paths with each other quite often.
So did you think at all any about the original song when you were watching this movie? And what I mean is that this is a movie that isn't based on literature. It's not based on a screenplay. It's based on a 3-minute song that was very popular in 1975.
I have a feeling that the song, because here's the thing, and we discussed this before in the podcast, is that the song inspired the movie and the movie inspired a song revision. I believe that I listened to the song revision because when I watched the movie, I'm like, yeah, there's the bear in the air. There's the cab over Pete with the reefer on. and a Jimmy hauling hogs. I mean, it's all from the song, right? And I don't know if all those things were in the original song or not.
Well, the original song has them going from one destination to another, and then the revised song definitely follows the same path that these truckers took.
Yeah.
They mention in characters like Dirty Lyle.
Yeah.
You couldn't be alive back then and not have heard that song in the 70s.
So remember, Spotify is new.
Really? Yeah.
Where we heard songs, if you didn't go and buy them, was on the radio.
Yep.
That's where you heard songs, and they played this one relentlessly. But the confusion for me comes from, I don't know when I first heard it. I probably heard the first version, then the movie came out, and I probably heard the second version and never sort of figured out that they were not the same.
Do you know what the biggest surprise this movie had for me? Because I've seen this film before a long time ago. I had no idea this film was directed by Sam Peckinpah until we started this podcast.
Yeah.
That was really a surprise to me. I was talking with my buddy Jay. He also was like, I had no idea that Peckinpah directed this film. It has some of the characteristics of a Peckinpah movie.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of the slow motion. The character of Kris Kristofferson is very much a Peckinpah style character. Ernest Borgnine's character it's kind of a cross between like Al Lettieri's character and Buford T. Justice.
Far better name.
And also, this film has a lot of the kind of things that Peckinpah is always talking about. The original song is talking about the truckers rebelling against things like the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, rebelling against the log books that they had to keep because they could only drive for so long and then they were supposed to rest. But the companies that were driving them was having them lie on those books.
Yeah.
When they would get to a weigh station, not only would their trucks be weighed, but those books would be validated. And you notice that even in this movie, when Rubber Duck gets pulled over at the beginning, the first thing they ask for is for his log books.
Yeah.
So this movie has a lot of material that is very Peckinpah-ish.
Mm-hmm. I think when you recall sort of the issues that Peckinpah was having during this film, you can kind of see through what happened. It's like he started it out, he's possibly making it because he's in a situation where he needs to make a movie. He wants to put a stamp on it, and maybe early on he's kind of able to do what he wants. Things go on, there's production problems, no doubt his drinking increased, his issues with substances increased, and things got out of hand. And to me, it's sort of you can obviously see it because there's some parts, like you said, are so Peckinpah-ish. The crash into the air and slow motion and all of that, which is an awesome stunt.
The big jail escape at the end with the trucks kind of running through everything that in going into slow motion, right? That's all signature.
Yeah, signature Peckinpah stuff. So to me, it's sort of one of those ones where it's like, it's a little, probably very bittersweet for him that this movie, which he basically was removed from, is the one that made the most money in his career, which is, like I said, a bittersweet kind of situation.
I can't help. And I know that the two movies came out so close to each other. I don't know how much one influenced the other. When I look at Convoy, I have to think about Smokey and the Bandit. Smokey and the Bandit works so well because Burt Reynolds just drips with charisma through the whole film.
Or as the kids say, the Riz.
He's dripping with Riz. Thank you so much. And to a degree, I think Kris Kristofferson doesn't have the same level of charisma to be another Burt Reynolds.
He could have.
I think he could have too.
He could have. I go back to the material. I just don't think the writing was there to make him a character that we, one, cared about, and two, noticed. He's kind of just there. Even when they're getting interviewed by the political motivator, Melissa's talking to him, was like, hey, you could do a lot of good things here. And he's just sort of like, duh, go talk to the other people.
We're sick and tired of beating our eyeballs out coast to coast and having the damn Smokies ripping us off for our green stamps.
So you believe in what the Rubber Duck's doing, is that it?
I'm tired of seeing the way black people have to live. Went to Vietnam and got shot for the right to live in a ghetto.
I go from A to B. The faster I can get from A to B, the more money I make. At 55, I can't deal with it.
Your big oil companies have raised the price of oil and gas, which gets back to the consumer, we got to raise all our prices to make it all happen.
And that's when you hear about the Vietnam War, you hear about Nixon, you hear about Nixon and Watergate, you hear about the gas prices, you hear about the double nickel, 55 miles an hour.
Yep.
All of that. And these guys are trying to make a living on the road, and the country, I mean, to give truckers their due, our entire country's economy runs on over-the-road truck transport. Now, we made that sort of switch in the United States. We really depend on overland trucking, and that's just where we are. And then the profit is the cost to move it across the land. The fuel price is fixed. The equipment cost is fixed. The insurance cost is fixed. Tolls are fixed. What is not fixed? What you pay the trucker. So that's who gets squeezed. And that's what, to me, this whole movie should have been about, which was, it was not. We never get to the point where anybody complains about Sheriff Lyle grifting the truckers by taking bribes. I mean, that never even comes up in the press. No one ever says, well, and this guy is bad. He's in another state. He's shooting a machine gun at us. And yet he's the guy who caused this whole thing to happen. And nobody is saying a word about it. It's just, that to me was just like, come on, somebody's got to at least get his comeuppance, and never does.
Well, just remember, too, that everything you described about the economy of truck driving in the mid-'70s, all of that was responding to the oil crisis, which in this case made everything way more expensive, which put the squeeze even more on the truckers and was rising inflation for everyone. So I think when people went to see this movie, and the reason why long-haul truckers kind of started filling in that role of the Western cowboy, that was what people were coming in to see. And that one scene where they're doing the whole newscast and they go down to the different trucks, and really the reason why the other guys are there is that they're protesting, and these are the things that they're protesting, except for the one guy who just likes to be there,
which was great.
Just as a quick aside, I sent you a picture last night of Sam Peckinpah's little cameo on that truck. He's the guy with the headphones wearing the blue bandana operating the sound.
That's funny.
What did you think of Ernest Borgnine?
I think he did a good job of playing the guy who definitely is shaking down these truckers, but actually is not 100% maybe dedicated to their demise. I think he kind of sees the symbiotic relationship of the truckers keep rolling, he can keep grifting them. So he's not 100% want to get rid of them, because, and we see in the last scenes, Ernest Borgnine's attitude maybe towards the rubber duck a little bit changes when the last scenes go through. And if you watch the movie, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I think Ernest Borgnine, as the actor, did a wonderful job with what he was given, but he did a good job. I will say the writing was ridiculous. He's a small-town sheriff from some western state, and now he's in Texas behind an M60 machine gun or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any authority at all in another state. He's a sheriff. He doesn't have authority in the next county.
You remember when we were talking about Charlie Varick, one of the things that I really complimented that film on was I liked that they did not make Charlie Varick look cool by making the law look dumb.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And in this one, the different lawmen are painted with very broad brushes.
Yeah.
If you had a chance to go out to dinner with Cottonmouth or with Buford T. Justice, who would you rather go with?
Buford T. Justice, for sure. You'd never stop laughing.
Another one that jumps out to me, Ali MacGraw's Melissa and Sally Field's character, to make those characters work, the chemistry and the romance between the two characters, like, Sally Field and Burt Reynolds, and then Ali MacGraw and Kris Kristofferson, it has to work.
Yeah.
I felt that Ali MacGraw and Kris Kristofferson had zero chemistry.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I'll be honest with you, I am not a big Sally Field fan. The Ali MacGraw character, Melissa, is like, she's mostly filled with disdain most of the time.
But you compare her character with her last role in The Getaway.
Yeah.
The chemistry and the strain between her and Steve McQueen was what drove that film.
Yeah.
If Ali MacGraw was not in this film, I'm not really sure if anything would have changed.
It wouldn't have changed.
I will say, I love the movie poster from this film. I can't say that I like the music in this film that Chip Davis wrote.
Right.
It didn't know what kind of musical score that it wanted to be. There's a lot of stunts in this movie. What was your favorite?
Two things I have on the stunts. One is the one where the car goes through the barn, through the sign, through the barn, and then keeps going.
Yeah.
Peckinpah told the guy, do not fall short. because I don't have any kind of shot if you fall short.
It's supposed to land in the barn, right?
It's supposed to land in the barn. Well, he goes way past the barn, which makes it even better, but I'm shocked that he got up and walked away from it. So that's amazing. And then the other thing where they filmed in what I can only assume was a giant field of baking flour.
You're talking about where they're taking that little back road path or whatever.
Right. They had the trucks and the cars going through this flour. I am positive the problems with their production was the trucks must have gotten stuck 1,000 times. I mean, obviously it's some kind of alkali desert sand or something.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. If you look to the wheels, this powder is just flying everywhere.
I would hate to have been an actor filming that. Do you remember the fight scene at the truck stop?
Yeah.
It took them 10 days to film that.
What?
10.
That's crazy.
It took them 10 days to film that. And it's on the screen for just a small bit of time.
It went on too long already on the screen.
You're not wrong. But there's lots of practical stunt work.
Yeah, sure.
One thing that I thought was a stunt, but it actually turned out to be an accident that they just left in the film and they worked it in.
What was that?
It was when Black Widow.
She rolled the truck?
She rolled the truck. And it turned out, though, that actually happened.
Oh, God, that's great.
Hey, they got the camera in the air. They got all the coverage. They're like, let's keep it, make it part of the movie.
Well, it was good in the movie because it was actually very realistic. She came around the corner too fast and rolled it. I mean, that's very common.
The funniest thing she said was,
Jerk, I knew I should have bought myself a black truck.
I just
that's funny.
Die when she said that.
Is it about that time yet?
I think that it's time to ask the question. Matt, does Convoy crash the gate doing 98 or does it get left behind at the way station?
Well, 95 was the route I was on. It was not the speed limit sign. Listeners who are adept at listening to my intonations might understand that I find this movie maybe not the greatest film ever made or even at a position where they could see it. I don't think it holds its luster over the years. I think it is a cool movie to see if you want to sort of revisit some 70s nostalgia and some trucker culture, but I think maybe this is one that you might do on a rainy Saturday afternoon when you had absolutely nothing to do and you were recovering from surgery. Because there's probably 1,000 things
that's brutal, man.
You could do that would be more entertaining than this movie. I mean, it's cool to see Kris Kristofferson as a young man. It's cool to see Ernest Borgnine in a role because he's a great actor. I think this movie cured me of the crush I had on Ally MacGraw because of this film.
Not for you, man.
So, yeah, I think maybe I'm going to give it a bit of a thumbs down this week. I will say that it's always fun to review these films because it puts us in that mindset of back in the 70s, kind of what was happening, reminds us of the gas crisis, the lines, the rationing, long haul trucker being, kind of it really was a lot. It was talked about. It was definitely in the zeitgeist of the time is kind of long haul trucking. And I remember because we had a good friend of the family who was an avid kind of fan of truckers and he knew everything about all the different trucks. And that's where I learned about, what a cab over Pete means and what a Mack truck is and the idea that these diesel engines have certain capabilities. So they have to have really sophisticated transmissions to transmit that power to moving those loads. So it's good for that. In terms of a movie that you can follow, characters that you sort of get into, I think this falls a little flat. And that's all I'm going to say about it. It's I don't want to poo-poo it too much. I think Sam Peckinpah is a very gifted director and I think he did a lot for this film, but I think it's clear that his issues at the time overrode some of his creative genius, possibly. That's my wrap. So what did you think, Chuck?
Well, Matt, this is going to be possibly the first time you and I both agreed on not liking a movie at the same time.
Red letter day.
I know. Well, so my biggest issue with this film is it just feels too much like it's chasing the success of Smokey and the Bandit, and it's missing the things that made Smokey and the Bandit really good. It's missing the fun. And this movie can't decide what it wants to be. And I have to believe that happened after Peckinpah was released from the editing process. You already know Kris Kristofferson has to carry this film. I didn't think their relationship between the two characters, Melissa and Rubber Duck, was really good. I felt that Ernest Borgnine was the Kmart Sheriff Buford T. Justice version. He was so broad that it became cartoonish in a way that wasn't funny. It was more like a Wile E. Coyote, character, whereas I thought Buford T. Justice was just flat out funny the entire time. What I loved about the film was that the supporting cast in this film is what carries it for me, whether it's Franklyn Ajaye, Madge Sinclair, or Bert Young. All of them were great. I thought all of the other truckers who fall in line, they all had small roles to different degrees, but they were all interesting. And I really would have loved to have seen more of that. I was hoping that I would be more engaged with the film, but I wasn't. I thought the first half of the film really dragged. It didn't really pick up for me until after they go down that dirt back road, and then the show began to get a little bit more fun. And I think that's where the Peckinpah influences came in, and you see that again in the scene where the news car kind of comes up beside them. I have to give so much credit to the stunt work. That billboard crash alone, if I was to recommend anybody to watch this film, I'd say either watch the film for that billboard crash or just go and look up on YouTube where the stuntman talks about doing that stunt. So in the end, I can see why audience embraced Convoy. I think it's a product of the time. And I think having someone like Sam Peckinpah as the director makes it even more of a curiosity. So if I'm going to be honest and true, I'm going to have to pull over at the way station on this one.
I think you're right on the supporting cast. They really do carry the film. And you're right about even the supporting truckers were funny. I think they picked a lot of really unusual guys. A guy who's, I'm just here for the ride. And then the Jesus Freaks, which they had to put in because it was in the song, but they were funny. And it was pretty funny. So, if they had written something to make you care about the rubber duck and tied in Ali MacGraw's character with that conflict or whatever, right? I mean, in White Line Fever, it was his wife. They were married. They're newly married. She's pregnant. I mean, there is a big tie-in of care. To me, it was like that's what was lacking. I did not care what happened to the rubber duck. I did not care.
Yeah, but you cared what happened to Jan Michael Vincent in White Line Fever, right?
Absolutely. Although, at the end it was a little cavalier about how his wife suffered and the other star got killed, but nobody did anything until Jan Michael Vincent got dusted up a little bit, So that was a little ridiculous. But I did care about him and his family.
Yeah. Jonathan Kaplan set out with White Line Fever to make a Sam Peckinpah style Western, but with truckers.
And he did a good job.
And Peckinpah tried to do the same thing with Convoy. And I think whether it was because of studio intervention, whether it was because of issues with substance abuse, I think Jonathan Kaplan has a more entertaining film that I sat down and thought, wow, I have never seen this film, and I was engaged with it the entire time. Convoy, I found myself checking out and looking at my watch, and that's it. All right, Matt, that wraps up our Keep on Trucking month. So join us in 2 weeks as we begin our Jawsploitation month with 2 films that swam in the wake of one of the biggest box office hits of all time. First up is Orca from 1977, starring Richard Harris and Charlotte Rampling, a film that asks what might happen if the hunter became the hunted. Then we'll follow it up with Piranha from 1978, directed by a young Joe Dante, proving that if Jaws made people afraid of going into the water, Hollywood was determined to make them afraid of every single body of water. We'll talk about the explosion of killer animal movies that followed Jaws, the surprisingly talented filmmakers who worked in that genre, and whether these films are merely cash-ins or better than their reputation might suggest. So grab a bigger boat and maybe just stay out of the water altogether.
Well, I'm excited to do these 2 films coming up because I have not seen either one of them.
You're going to like them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm excited. It should be good. I have not seen either one. So I think it's that time. We want to thank you for taking the time to tune in. If you've seen Convoy, reach out and let us know your thoughts. You can find us at Facebook or leave us a message over at cinematicflashback.com. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a rating and review. We really appreciate it. And a review just might get read on the air. And if you've been enjoying the show, tell your friends and family about what we still proudly believe is the best podcast dedicated to 1970s cinema. Join us next time as we hop back into the Wayback Machine and head once again to the 1970s for another classic, or possibly not so classic, but always entertaining. Until then, keep the hammer down, keep your ears on, and watch out for Smokey, and we'll see you on the flip side.
My name is Bob Bookman, sir, and I hate truckers.